pgmcsskater here, and this is going to be a deck list, and I'm going to show you my list for the deck I'm running for cities. And as you can see, it is Gengar Vileplume, the infamous trainer lock and disruption deck, you know, easy snipes, that kind of thing. Later on in this video I'll show you an explanation and a play out of the deck, but I'm going to go through my list. So basically you have these are your two main cards. Vileplume keeps your trainer lock, and Gengar is your attacker. Show you my list here. You must, and I say must, 4 Ghastly from Stormfront. It's very important to have these because Pitch Dark is a very good attack, and it says your opponent can't play trainers, and it's free attack. And running 4 of these is just in case one gets taken out early game or something like that. You'll always have 3 to go on. Okay, that's the best Ghastly to use, so I don't recommend using any other. I use these Haunters, the Haunter from Triumphant. The reason being I run this Haunter is, as you can see, for double colorless, you won't have double colorless in here, but for 2 energy, you can put your defending Pokemon asleep and poisoned. That's good against Umbreon, which basically is the anti-Gengar, and also it has free retreat, as you can tell. But the downside is it has 70 HP, which is less than the other Stormfront one. It doesn't have the body like the Arceus one, but it also has a ×2 weakness to dark, unlike all the other Haunters out there. But I like using this one because of the free retreat and the second attack. And the first attack is just place 2 damage counters, so it's not that bad either. I run 2 Stormfront Gengars. Feigning Spell, the most broken power in the game right now. Basically, when he gets knocked out by damage, flip for flip. If heads, the defending Pokemon's also knocked out. So that's like a 50-50 chance for a free prize. And Shadow Room, for a Psychic Energy, you can put 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. And if that Pokemon has a Poke Power, put 6 instead. So Uxies get 60, Unknowns get 60, and so on and so forth. And Poltergeist, for Psychic and a colorless, it does 30 times how many trainers, supporters, stadiums are in your opponent's hand. So you get to look at their hand, and on top of that, do massive damage under trainer lock. It has 110 HP. And that is perfectly chosen by the Pokemon Company because 110 is the perfect amount, say, for a lot of things like poison. Nidoking, the new Nidoking, one-shots this with Expert Belt, and it avoids Feigning Spell, which is really important. And also, it has free retreat, a plus 30 weakness to dark, and a minus 20 resistance to colorless. So if it's active and Garchomp CX hits it, then it's reduced by 20, and Dragon Rush only does 60. Here's the second main card in here, Vileplume. Vileplume is your support card that doesn't let your opponent play any trainers, or you can't play trainers, but you run no trainers, so it doesn't matter. You won't ever use its attack. Its downside is that it has 2 retreat and is weak to Psychic. So Uxie one-shots it, and Luxray is a pain, and so is Blaziken. And Blaziken also one-shots it too. If you Blurring Flame and they're burned and you Jet Shoot. That's Vileplume. It has 120 HP, which is a lot, so Garchomp can't one-shot it, which is good. Now as for the pre-evolutions, I use Gloom from LA, Grass. Reason being is it has 1 retreat cost, it's weak to Fire instead of Psychic, which if your whole line's weak to Psychic, then that sucks. That's my opinion. 1 retreat, 70 HP, which is good. And then I use the Psychic Oddish. Has 4 colorless, you get the flip coin of heads, the fitting Pokemon is poisoned. Has 50 HP, which is the most out of all the Oddishes. And it has a plus 10 weakness to Psychic, which isn't that bad, and 1 retreat cost. That's the 2 main lines. And here are the other things for Gengar that I use. I use 1 Prime, Gengar Prime here. Gengar Prime is a nice tech because of Catastrophe. When you knock out something, or when something gets knocked out while Gengar is active, it goes automatically into the lost zone, which is really, really hurtful to your opponent. Hurling Darkness for a Psychic, you get to look at your opponent's hand and choose as many Pokemon from that, or choose the number of Pokemon equal to the amount of Psychics attached and put them in the lost zone, which can be very disruptive. And Curse Droplets for Psychic and a Colorless, put 4 damage counters on however you like on your opponent's field, which is really, really awesome. And it has 130 HP, which is a lot. It's pretty much a huge tank, so it takes a lot of damage. It has free retreat, but it has a ×2 weakness. And the X, this is your Dialga G counter, because Dialga G shuts down your bodies, which shuts down Catastrophe, Vileplume's body, Keystone Seal, which is Spiritoon's body, which you'll see in a second. So it totally brings down this deck. But Level Down is a Pokemon power that allows you to level down the Dialga and shuffle it back into their deck. But this is any level X you can level down. And Compound Pain, which is a pretty powerful attack for 3 energy, 2 psychic, and a colorless. You can put 30 damage on each of your opponent's Pokemon that already has damage counters on it. So that's pretty awesome. It has 140 HP, which gives all your Gengars a little extra HP. Now for the tech cards / support cards, you have, I run 2 Spiritomb. Most people run 3 to 4 because they're sane and whatever, and they like consistency. But I want to beat the meta right now, so Spiritomb is how you get set up. Spiritomb, when it's active, locks trainers, just like Vileplume, but it has to be active. So you want to start with this or something like that. It has 60 HP, which is not that great, but it has a 20 resistance and no weakness. And the resistance is colorless. But for no energy, Darkness Grace lets you search your deck for an evolution from one of your Pokemon and evolve that Pokemon, which is really, really awesome. And if you do, it puts 10 damage on Spiritomb. Okay. And a lot of Spiritomb, I had to cut a lot of cards, and that was one of the cards I had to cut so I can put in my techs. And the techs are very important to beat the meta in my area, so it still works. I'll show you guys that it still works, so it's not that bad. I'm sorry, I ran out of memory, so I had to just start over. Not start over, continue. Next in line, after you saw my 2 Spiritombs, I run 1 Uxie. This gives you continual draw power, and it's easy to get up since you have Warp Energy in this deck. Can't focus that. Whatever, and that's good. You can, Uxie is very useful also. It has Zen Blade, which is a pretty powerful attack. But, because it's a draw, how it's a draw engine is trade-off. It allows you to look at the top 2 cards of your deck and choose one of them and put the other on bottom, which is pretty consistent, so that's good. And then I run 2 Uxie from LA. Uxie is basically the best draw engine in this format right now, because when you play it from your hand, you get to draw up to 7 cards. I mean, until you have 7, which is pretty good. And it has a very useful attack. Psychic Restore does 20 damage for a colorless, and then you get to put Uxie and all cards attached to it to the bottom of your deck in any order. I run 1 Azoth just in case Gengar is level X is prized. 2 Unknown Qs for Uxie X or Spiritombs, which is pretty helpful, and sometimes I've actually used it to retreat Ghastly. So, yeah, 2 Unknown Qs. Some people run 1. I find that 2 is very helpful because you can quicken on also Vileplume or one of the 2 techs that I'll show you right now. Ditto from LA. Ditto's body allows you to be the defending Pokemon. So it has the maximum HP of your opponent's active and has the same attacks, but you still need the energy to use the attacks. So basically anything with Psychic or Colorless you can use with Ditto. And so Ditto is how this is a tech is against mirror matches. Ditto has a body, so Gengar Stormfront only hits it for 30, and it has the 110 HP that Gengar Stormfront has, but you can also use it against the Stormfront Gengar and do 6 damage to them, to their 3DU. So that's really good. However, you don't have Fainting Spell. And here's my Umbreon tech. I went to Battle Roads and I came second, and I lost to Machamp Umbreon, and I don't want that to happen again. Umbreon basically just shuts this deck down because I play all bodies and powers and stuff, so it really hurts. And I'm also weak to dark, and it's basically a wall. But this is how I fix it: a 1/1 Gliscor. Gliscor, basically you would use Ninja Fang for 30, and Ninja Fang, what it does is if the defending Pokemon has no damage counters on it, then it takes the 30, and it's also paralyzed. So what I would do is I would Ninja Fang the Umbreon, which does 60 damage to it because it's 2 times weak. It's paralyzed. Next turn I would bring up Gengar, either Stormfront or the Gengar from Gengar Prime, and I'll All-Stone it or something. So yeah, that's a really good tech. Like I said, Q it so you can use it almost every time Umbreon comes up. So Q for retreat. That's all my Pokemon that I run in this deck. That's a huge stack of Pokemon in VileGar. So now onto the trainers. As for stadiums, I run 2 BTS. I used to run 3. Like Spiritomb, I had to cut it for Gliscor. It was very important to put him in, and he's very helpful. So 2 BTS, and I rely on Spiritombs to evolve anyways, so BTS comes out later in the game. You have to constantly shuffle this deck because after you use up all your resources, you run no trainers, so you can't really refresh. So I run 5 refresh hand cards, 3 Copycats, because Copycat's awesome under Train Lock. Your opponent has big hands if they run a lot of trainers. And then 2 Lookers. Lookers is pretty much disruption, or to know what's in your opponent's hands, so you know if you can Portuguese or not. So yeah, Lookers is awesome. For consistency, I run 4 Beybeys. Beybeys is a really good card in this deck because you can search for anything with Beybeys. So say you need a basic and you have BTS out, just get the basic and evolve up to the second stage.